Hey
Hey
everybody,
everybody, how you doing, Kev?
I'm doing good. I'm really happy about my book. Woo!
I'm
Woo!
so excited about your book. It is called I Exaggerate, My Brushes with Fame. Kev, tell us about this book.
Well, man, first of all, Susan, please say hi to my wife, Susan Yeagley.
Hi
It looks
everybody.
like I just handed you the book. Didn't I? Look,
Yes, you did.
now pull it
I
up from over there.
and I'm
There we go.
grabbing it from across the country.
Yay. So
Yay.
my book, it's called I Exaggerate, My Brushes with Fame. And it's basically a collection of all of my caricatures that well, most of them that I've done in the last 3 or 4 years. I started drawing when I was a kid, and I continued throughout my life, but I was never serious about it. I was always kind of like a doodling and a hobby, and I kind of learned a lot from drawing maps in geography class, where you had to do hand-eye coordination. And from there, I would just doodle in the margins of my paper in school, and even on Saturday Night Live during the table read, I would sketch the other actors across the table if I wasn't in the sketch. So that was very rare. And I just love doing it. Even on airplanes in the last 10 years, I fly a lot. I would sketch the passengers on the other seats across the aisle from me. And usually they were sleeping. They're like, And I would
I've got pictures of me going, oh.
Yeah. Well, don't forget the drool coming down there, a little drool.
Lots of drool.
And I would never show those people the pictures, because just like I never showed the people these caricatures until recently, because I really was scared to see what they would think.
Well,
and so, yeah, I was just going to say each picture, as they may or may not know, is accompanied with an anecdote about my experience with that person. There's Eddie Vedder. Eddie Vedder, for example, he told me, first of all, Eddie Vedder loves this picture. He said it's the best one. He's had a lot drawn, and mine was the best. He said he used to come down to, when he was living in San Diego, and I was performing at the Improv down there, stand-up comedy. He was a fan, he said, and he would come over all the time and watch me do my stand-up after surfing. And I was really flattered when he said that. But then I learned later in some article that he had a girlfriend that was a server at the Improv. So, it was kind of a two-way thing, I guess.
It always goes back to the cocktail waitress, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
Sure does.
Not anymore. Guys, we used to.
What we're doing now is called a live signing, which is super cool. And it's the perfect way for fans to get a signed copy of your book if they cannot attend a press event. So you can go to premiercollectibles.com/Nealon and get a signed copy of this book. And what we're going to do today is just
I hope they don't slash Nealon. I hope they don't slash Nealon. What I did there.
What's the phrase? 15 slashes with a wet noodle or something?
I don't know. But anyway, so that's where they can get it. All right.
Yep. premiercollectibles.com/Nealon. So I have to ask, what was the first caricature that you did in this book? There's so many. There's Letterman, there's Schwarzenegger, James Taylor. Who was number one?
I think it was probably Tom Petty.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think was the first one, and probably the most simplest out of all of the caricatures I've done, but very very popular with people. They really like it. Mm-hmm.
And what makes someone a good subject? There's so many celebrities out there, actors, musicians. Why do you choose that person to draw them?
Well, I'll tell you who's not a good candidate are people that have perfect symmetrical features on their face, mostly young kids or models. So that takes a while. That's the biggest challenge, to find the little nuances that make them, exaggerated. But I usually pick my, I was going to say I pick my victims, but I pick my subjects by a few different things, by the reference picture I have. But first of all, I have to be interested in that person for some reason. Or they have to have like an interesting look to them. And then I'll try to find a reference picture that I could go off of, or a couple of reference pictures, and then just start doing it that way.
I'm loving this one too. The Brad Paisley is incredible.
Yeah, Brad Paisley. He was okay with that. He was happy I didn't make his nose more hawk-like.
He loved it. He loved this one.
He did love it. He's a friend of ours, so we got a little slack with him.
Yeah. I think what's super cool is because you know a chunk of these people, you're able to put in layers and sparkle and glistening eyes and little quirks about them that most people don't know. I mean, what comes to mind to me is Norm Macdonald, where you really his cheeks and his, I don't know, a little bit of playing the devil in him. You know, you can see his eyes twinkling. It's mischievous.
Yeah, yeah. The eyes are really important with these things. Somebody asked me once, is it easier to draw somebody that I know or somebody that I don't know? And I think it's somebody I know because I know their personality better. And I can incorporate that into their actual painting.
Mm-hmm. And there's one that everybody comments about, that you capture Prince in a way that most people don't capture Prince. They capture him as a rock star, but you capture him as boyish. And I just love.
Yeah, that was the exact face he had when he looked at me at the SNL 40th reunion at the after party. We just kind of bumped into each other. He looked up, he recognized me, and yeah, he did that smile. And of course, you met him too there. And
that's a story. Do we want to unpack that story?
Sure, why not? Let's take a deep dive into it.
Let's deep dive and swim around in our Prince story. So
yeah, I mean, to your point, Sue.
I'm a huge Prince fan, ginormous Prince fan. I'm the lady that wears a raspberry beret and is in the second row at every concert. And so we didn't know he was going to be there at the SNL. What was the 40th anniversary party?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This was probably 3 a.m. It's the latest I've ever stayed up when I wasn't breastfeeding. And
same for me. Same for me.
Yes, too. And we go, this is so cool. And all these people are there, and there's Rihanna, and it was awesome. And then these people walk in. It almost is a moving, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Just a pack of people move together that all look super cool, glowing. Yes, they were glowing and floating. And in the middle was one person. And then the people parted. And in the middle, we could see Prince.
This little guy came out from the middle.
And I've always been told he does not shake hands, do not hug him. So I wanted to be very respectful. And I just said hello, and he said hello, and he recognized you. And
well, first of all, I don't care about the handshaking thing. We both shook hands, you know. And then I knew that you were a bigger fan than I was. I didn't even know who he was. No, I did, but I introduced you to him, and you shook his hand. And then when he left, a minute or so later, you couldn't believe that he shook your hand because you thought he never touched anybody.
I had heard he will not touch anybody. And so I felt like Apollonia in Purple Rain. When he touched me, I felt tingly all over. It was so exciting. And I couldn't believe that he actually touched my hand. It was this hand. Yeah. It was the right hand. I haven't washed it in 7 years. No.
Or the rest of your body.
The rest of my body. But I love how you captured him. And I think you do tell the story in the book about that.
Yeah, I do. I do.
And the other thing that's sort of laced throughout it are your delightful little drawings that you do on airplanes. There's Conan right there.
Yeah, he was not on the airplane though. Conan, that was during we were writing Hans and Franz, the movie, and he would be lounging on the couch a lot, and that's how I kind of sketched them.
I love that. That's great. You got all his abs and his pecs and everything.
There weren't many.
And then, this one of Tiffany's incredible. And Kev, how long does it take you to do one of these, would you say?
Well, because I'm not like a professional illustrator, I'm still learning. It takes a couple of weeks for each one. Each one is a labor of love. It really is. And some take less time than others. Like doing myself, which is at the end of the book, took a long time. I tried a couple of different versions, and I was traveling a lot, so I do it in hotel rooms. And some of the other ones I did in hotel rooms too. And I just couldn't get it right. I couldn't get it. And I was settled for one of them, but I wasn't happy with it. And finally I did it again. And that one only took me like a day to do. And that was good enough for me.
Well, it's funny you bring it up because it's our son's favorite one.
Yeah. Yeah. He was sitting in my little studio and he saw that and he said, you know what? This is my favorite one. I think you did this one the best.
It's sweet. I really love it.
Yeah.
So for you, when you're looking at your own face, you're really going for the forehead. Am I
Well,
wrong?
yeah, my forehead is my big thing, and also my heavy eyebrows and that drooping eyes. You can see the drooping eyes. Oh, and also kind of the this here, and the jowls and the chin. Oh yeah, and also this upper part here of the lip. Oh yeah, and also the ears. Yeah. Yeah.
So you were born to be drawn. Look.
That's it. That's it. Woo woo.
That's a sweet face.
I guess they forgot to color in the rest of the book.
Yeah, I guess so. Would it, Kev, be hard to do people who have had a lot of plastic surgery?
No, it'd be easier actually, because nobody ever looks better after plastic surgery. I'm kidding.
Oh, I love this one. I would say the one I'm going to choose right now is the most popular. Chris Farley. Yeah.
I think so. And he was very popular. People love Chris Farley. I'm sure we'll have some questions about him, Suze.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. But what made you choose this expression, which is so darling and tender and mischievous? And look at that. It's just kind of kid with his hand in the cookie jar.
Well, that was him. That was his look I've seen many, many times at Saturday Night Live. Just kind of ready to go and just kind of waiting for your reaction about what he had just done. And he was always sweating too. He was always sweating. So I incorporated the sweat on his face. But that was from Tommy Boy, actually. Yeah, that was his look in Tommy Boy.
I love that.
But I have so many favorites. People ask me who my favorites are, and they change every day. One day I like Tom Petty. The next day it's whoever. I mean, I can't even think of the names of anybody. I've done so many. I mean, I like them all. I like Howard Stern. I like that one a lot. I don't know if you saw. What was the Howard Stern one?
Oh, I'm crazy about that one.
And I know people are wondering what these people think. How do they react to their? And I didn't show any of them when I was doing it. I was just posting it on Instagram, and I didn't really hear from anybody, and I was happy about that. And then when we started doing these promotions, we had to get kind of permission from the people to help sell the book. And only one person said no. They hated it. They hated it. The wife hated it. The agent hated it. Don't use this in any way, manner, or form to sell your book. So I didn't. But most people.
Was it your picture? Was it this one?
It was actually me. Yeah. Thanks for blowing my cover. But I sent one to Matt LeBlanc. How you doing? To get his approval. I sent it to him. He saw it. He goes, "Well, I'm flattered. I think." He wasn't sure. And I totally got that.
I think it's delightful to be thought of, and so it's a good thing, right, to be drawn. That
I think so. It's like Saturday Night Live when they skewer people on there or make satire around them. It's an honor. A lot of people love that, no matter how bad it is, because it puts them in the limelight and keeps them engaged.
I'm interested when you've been sketching. We've been together 21 years. You've always been doodling. I have drawers of pictures that you've sketched of me over the years, mostly clothed. Ew. But anyway, I'm curious when this was. What was your tipping point when you go, wait a minute, I've been doing this as a hobby, but now it's going to be a book. I mean, I'm going to get it's going to change lanes for me.
Question. Well, when I turned 60, there was a button in me that kind of went off because I could hear the clock ticking, even though it was an Apple Watch. And I just wanted to start doing the things I talked about all my life I wanted to do, and drawing characters was one of them, because I was always a fan of Mort Drucker from Mad Magazine, and also Al Hirschfeld and some of the Kruger. Sebastian Kruger now is a great one, and Jason Seiler. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so I want to start doing that. So because when am I going to do it if I don't do it now? And the same with learning Spanish. I started taking Spanish twice a week and playing the piano and spending more time with our son. So yeah, that's why I took it up. And a lot of this happened right about a year before the pandemic, which was great because when the pandemic hit, I couldn't go out and do stand-up comedy, and that's kind of where I got my laughs. So this was kind of like a non-verbal form of comedy. People really appreciated it and enjoyed it. And that's one of the reasons I did the book too, is because I was getting so much positive feedback. And people said, do more, do more, do more. I said, pay me, pay me, pay me. So then I decided to do the book. And Abrams published it.
Yeah, it's incredible. And again, you can go to premiercollectibles.com/Nealon to get an autographed copy right now. So make sure you go to that site. But for me, I remember.
I'm going to show everybody what my live signature looks. This is a live one. It's much better than my stationary one because it's moving. It's got a lot of life to it.
Lots of life and electricity.
And
but for me,
I never knew what a plate was, Suze, when they said sign a plate. And it's basically, it's a square with adhesive on the back. And so when you get it in the mail, you just paste it right onto the book. That way you don't have to send a whole book back and forth to get a signature.
That's smart. It's a good holiday gift idea.
We learn something new every day.
Every hour.
Yeah.
But for me, as your wife, I remember the pancake flipping when I was checking emails one week, and suddenly 3 people requested caricatures of you. And rather than going to, they came to me and said, do you think Kevin can do this for so-and-so's birthday? Can Kevin do this for an auction item? Can Kevin draw this couple because it's their 50th anniversary? And then it just started escalating of requests. Yeah. And so I think this is such a beautiful thing that now there's a book, there's a home for all these drawings that you've been doing.
And by the way, this will make a great gift, Susan, for the holidays coming up, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
It's not that big. It's not a coffee table book. It's more of a kitchen book.
And the thing is, what I honestly love about it, what's refreshing, it's not political at all. It's a beautiful book of art drawings and stories about your life and stories of working with people. So I think it really satisfies each lane for whatever people.
There's no red or blue colors on here. No red or blue colors.
No, it's sort of just a catch-all for everybody. And Kev, it is now time to answer some questions because some people that went to premiercollectibles.com/Nealon have questions for you. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, wait.
Okay.
Yeah, I find myself.
Here we go. Okay, Kev, this one is from Brandon in Kansas. How was it? What was it like working on the show Weeds? And did you have a favorite moment from the show?
Working on Weeds was a nice change for me because I had been on Saturday Night Live for 9 years, and then this came along, and I was surrounded by really good actors, Mary Louise Parker, Justin Kirk, all those guys, Andy Myler, and it was just a joy to go there. And the show really built. When I first did it, it was the pilot, and it was just a guest star on the pilot. And then it got picked up by Showtime, and they made me a regular on there. And my name was Doug Wilson, and I loved doing it. A lot of people say you smoke a lot of pot on that show, and it's not pot. It's not pot. It's a honey rose herb. And that's what everybody smokes in movies or in TV shows instead of tobacco or pot. Because otherwise, there'd be no show. And it was dangerous still, though, because we got it from the honey rose herb cartel in Colombia. So it had a little bit of an edge to it. Hold for laughs.
Kev, I remember holding for laughs because they're ginormous. I remember when, back in the day, when people would fax your lines for an audition. And I was with you when Doug Wilson, the show Weeds, they faxed the lines over for your audition.
Yeah.
And I remember you sitting on the couch. I still remember that puffy couch you had, and you read the lines. And I said, oh my God, don't even work on these. Don't tinker with it. Don't go to an acting coach. This is so you. You landed on top of this character effortlessly. Don't futz with it. And it was like yesterday that
well, a lot of people don't know that.
Your life.
People don't know that Doug Wilson was not really a character. That was me.
Okay, next question. Are you ready?
Always
Here we
ready.
go. This is from Inez in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Love you and Conan's banter. When you're off the air, do you have real conversations? Or is it like how it is on the air with interruptions and bits going on back and forth?
Well, that's a good
What a
question. It's we're constantly teasing each other, Conan and I, and there's always that interaction of like, look at me, can I have some eye contact? Can you take that wall down? So there is that, and we just carry it on to the podcast. But it's not always like that, though. No, but when we try to talk about something serious, it only happens for like maybe 30 seconds, and then one of us goes after the other.
But underneath that is
That
sharing
podcast,
his incredible friend, and he's consistent and dear and true and a great friend.
yeah. But that was a fun podcast. A lot of people are commenting on that one, and that's the second one I've done with him, and they've both been crazy.
Yeah, that one came out yesterday. It is bananas hilarious. Okay, next question. I bought this. Oh, this is from Meredith. Hi, Meredith, from Texas. I bought this book as a Christmas gift for my husband. Are there going to be enough pictures for him to get the theme of the book, or should I be prepared to have our daughter read it to him? He only reads technical manuals on principle.
Well, the reason I put the pictures in there was for her husband, because I know he won't pick up a book unless there's pictures in there. So that's what I did. That was a gift from me to her.
Okay, so that's good to know. Also, if he loves technical manuals, I have some IKEA stuff I would love for him to assemble because that is hard to do. Okay, this is from Connor in Chicago. Kevin, how long did it take you to write your first set? Do you remember your first joke?
Oh, he's talking about stand-up comedy. I do remember one of my first jokes. I talk about living in a bad neighborhood. I said, yeah, I came home once and my car was up on cinder blocks and someone had stole all 4 tires. But this guy was very considerate though, because I opened up the trunk and he left a spare cinder block in there where the spare tire was. That was one of my first jokes. Another joke I did was I was following behind this meat truck, and I thought it was an ambulance. Oh no, I know what happened. I was following behind this meat truck, and it got into an accident with an ambulance. And I saw the meat all over the street, and I thought, oh, this is a horrible accident. But it was really sides of beef. But you know,
How old were you?
those are not like really good jokes, but you got to start somewhere. And it took me to have my first set. It was very gradual. You keep working at it. You go to these open mic nights, and you know, you just keep taking the ones out, and putting new ones in that work better. And that's what I did. So it's taken about 40 years to get this set together.
How do you know if you're good at that? What is, I mean, do you just keep getting green lights along the way? Because is it your passion that gets you through the dark times? Because it seems like anybody could go out and tell the meat joke, right? How do you know that you're going to end up having a career?
Well, I gave myself 2 years when I went to LA from Connecticut. And if I didn't see any kind of progress, I was going to go home. And within the first couple of months, I loved it. I fell in love with it and I was addicted to it. And I just kept writing. And that's the key to having successful careers. Always write, be original and unique, because there's a lot of comics out there now.
Okay, that's a good point. Here we go. Moving on. Ooh, this is from Noah in Orlando, Florida. Hi, Noah. What's your favorite city to do stand-up in?
Where's he from?
Orlando.
Orlando. I love Orlando. That's a great. I like San Francisco, and I like New York, and DC. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. All right. So Noah got that answered. Now we're going to Stuart in Atlanta, Georgia. Aside from answering this question, What's the most memorable moment in your career so far?
Okay, I can't pick
Stuart's
this.
got
The most memorable moment, aside from our son being born, was doing my first Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Because as a stand-up, that's what you aspire to do, is to be on that show. That kind of validates you. So that was like, and that's in the book too. I have a picture of Johnny Carson that I drew, and he was like the only thing happening in late night back then. It wasn't like all these talk shows that are out there now with different people in it. But if you kind of got his approval, then you were like, you were a stand-up. You were a verified stand-up at that point. But I remember I drew this one of him because it's got smoke coming out of his mouth, because during the commercial breaks, he used to smoke cigarettes, and he'd bend over and have a couple of puffs and then put it out by the time he came back from commercial. And then if he laughed, you could see a little bit of the residual smoke coming out, or you could smell it. So that's why I wrote that. But that was one of my most memorable moments. I think more so than SNL or Weeds or the Adam Sandler film, anything like that.
that to me, that was such a validation. It was such a walk across the bridge with me. You're gonna make it moment. And I wonder if there's anything like that now for young comics on the scene, a show that really embraces you and launches a career.
Yeah, I'm not sure who the guy is now, but
Or woman.
is either it was Letterman or Carson. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So the women host shows are Ellen, and who's some other ones?
Samantha Bee.
Samantha Bee?
I was going through
Yeah.
Chelsea.
I'm trying to think. I can't think of any, but that's why I say the guys, because but yeah, I mean, they're all great. They're all great. And I don't know who the validator is now. You know what I mean?
Because when you were coming up, it was so clearly, crystal clear, he was the kingpin, Johnny Carson. If you got on that couch.
And then Letterman started to surge a little bit toward him. But then Johnny Carson retired. And then it was Letterman.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of nice now because comics can have their choice of, they're all really great. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers. Yeah, I mean, we all know who
We
they
love
are.
them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love them. And friends who are just now joining us, you can go to premiercollectibles.com/Nealon to get an autographed copy of the book, which is very exciting. And I'm going to go back to questions. Here we go. This is from Mark in Indiana. Kevin, what made you want to write this book right now?
Well, the pandemic, I was doing this about a year before the pandemic hit, and I started drawing more because I didn't have an outlet to do stand-up comedy. This was like a nonverbal way of doing stand-up. We talked about it a little bit earlier, and it really gave me, it filled the void in me because I was kind of getting laughs from it just by the drawings. And also, the book came about because I was hiking one day with Jake Steinfeld, Body by Jake. I don't know if you know him or remembered him, but
We love him.
yeah, I love him. And he's a networker, you know, a motivator. And I said to him, I said, Jake, you've written a few books, right? Yeah, I wrote 10 books. Yeah, I wrote 10 books with a ghostwriter. Yeah. And he says, what about you, Kev? You ever write a book? I said, yeah, I wrote one about 15 years ago. But I have another one, I think, in me right now. He goes, I'm going to call my friend, Jen Miller. She works at the Dupre Miller agency. You know, so he got her on the phone right there on the trail, put her on with me. And I told her I was thinking about a book. She said, well, when you get home, call me. We'll talk about your idea. And I did. And then I got this, I signed up with her and found a publisher at Abrams.
She's big time. That's big.
Yeah, that was lucky. But it was just being at the right place at the right time and being open to opportunities like that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay. And in that spirit, Karen from Washington asks, Kevin, is there a central theme in this book?
I think the central theme is satire, funny. You know, it's kind of, it's just kind of not taking things seriously. And also the writing part is really a memoir for me. It's my experience with each person. And it's finding the funny in everybody, even if it's just literary just by writing about them. So the picture and the anecdote really go hand in hand, and it's kind of a nice set, as they would call it.
Teresa follows up from Minnesota with, what was your creative process like? How did you choose which portraits and stories would make it in?
Well, I had some of my favorites, but it depends. A lot of these are some of my favorite people, my friends, or that I worked with, or that I admired. And also, if there was a good reference picture or a clip from a video, that determined it too. So that's basically, what made me decide what to put in there.
Okay. And next up, from John in Kentucky, how did you first start out in comedy? Was that always a dream when you were a little kid?
When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a fireman and an airline pilot, but also draw as I was flying the plane. I wanted to be a musician when I was younger, like in my early teens. I wanted to be in a band, and I played the guitar, and I was in a couple of garage bands, but of course, we never made it to the bigger garages. And then as I got older, from there, singing was just too intimate for me. It was too personal, and jokes seemed to come easier to me, telling jokes. And so I checked out some of the clubs in New York, Catch a Rising Star and the Improv, and the New York audience is just intimidated me too much. And the comics were really brash and edgy. So I went out to Los Angeles to try stand up because I knew it was more laid back there, and it was. And just all the open mic nights. And when I was probably about 23, I went to Los Angeles to do stand up.
I'm fascinated. I've never heard you put it that way, that singing was too intimate. That is fascinating because I feel the same way about that. And I wonder if people who are truly gifted, I'm not gifted at all in singing. You don't have to interject because I know you feel the same way, that I'm not gifted in singing. But if I was gifted in singing, would I feel that it was too intimate, or would I feel that it's just a natural way of expressing it? Because that's interesting.
I think if I was confident that I was a good singer, I wouldn't mind. But I didn't have a lot of people coming up to me and saying, "Man, you got a great voice."
Oh, I've never heard that. I've never heard that. But with comedy, you're putting a wall up. So you tell the joke, you're kind of throwing your fishing rod out there, and it distances you from people, correct? Whereas singing feels too vulnerable, maybe. It's interesting. I could unpack it for years.
Comedy kind of brings you in closer. It's a more of a casual pick and choose. You're not stuck with one song for 3 minutes or 2 minutes. You get a laugh, you get another laugh. If you don't like that one, you're on to the next one. It's like golf a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's more of a smorgasbord, and you don't have to hear "Stairway to Heaven" for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I learned a lot about you right there.
We should hang out sometime.
Carlos, maybe, yeah. Are you single? Okay, Carlos from New York is asking, Kevin, what advice would you give to new comedians and new actors?
Well,
I think great.
You want to do the research, and a lot of that you'll get right here in my book, I Exaggerate, My Brushes with Fame. I actually do write about Bud Freeman in here. He's like the second one in here. Bud Freeman was the owner of the Improv, and he was the guy. And when I first moved to LA, I went to visit the Improv, and I couldn't believe I was in there. It was such a sanctuary to me because I knew that's where all the comics, cut their teeth. They would. Jay Leno would work there, Andy Kaufman, Robin Williams. I used to see Robin Williams come in there with his suspenders still from Mork and Mindy. And it was really, it was such a great time of my life. I really enjoyed it. And I pretty much lived at the Improv. So there's the whole thing about Bud Freeman in here. I'll show you his picture. Was about getting into stand-up. And that's the first place I ever did stand-up at. It was at the Improv right there. And this is Bud Freeman. He wore a monocle.
That's great.
And that became my home for a long time. I would I would go down there all the time and try to get on stage, or I was the bartender for 2 years. And I have friends coming in to visit me from the East Coast. They say, where can you take us? I said, I can take you to the Improv. I don't really know anywhere else because that's just where I go.
Oh, that's great. What about being an actor? Any advice for new actors?
I think you just have to listen a lot. When you're in a scene, you have to listen to the other person. Even though you all have lines, you have to listen. And then also know your lines. Unless you're on Saturday Night Live, and then you go off of cue cards. But, and then study, study with, find a good actor in your city and really put the time into it. And I watched a lot. I watched a lot of stand-up comics too. If I wasn't going on, I watched them. And I knew every stand-up comic back then. I knew when they would take their pause. I knew what their style was, each one. So maybe the same with acting. Go to plays, go to good movies and watch the acting and watch the idiosyncrasies that they do.
And be in a play. I mean, I always talk to people about it. You and I are concerned zero with networking. We never once have ever talked about, oh, let's go out so we can meet people. Yuck, we never do that. But I would tell people, go be in a play, go be great at your job. People will find you. If you draw a beautiful picture, people are going to find that. Go sell it at an art fair. Go be in a play and invite people to come see your play. Being good at your job, there's no substitute for that, right?
No, I don't think so. And even if you never make it as an actor, and if you enjoy doing it, you just keep doing it.
Exactly. Okay. Kevin, this is from Allie in Maryland. What's been a highlight moment in your career? What's been a favorite project you have worked on in your career? So did we cover that with Johnny Carson, do you think?
Yeah, we did. I mean, that was it. I don't know if she just joined us,
Yeah.
but doing the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson was such an accomplished goal for me. Yeah, because that was in my sights. That's all I wanted to do, in stand up. I wanted to be on the Tonight Show. And after doing that, and I was so nervous on that show. When the curtain opened up after he introduced me, I was walking out to my spot on the floor. I totally blanked out. I couldn't remember my act. And I thought, oh no, this is the worst place for this to happen. And Johnny Carson was right over my shoulder there. And I'm standing in my mark, and the audience is slowing down with the applause. And thank God, after the last person clapped, I remembered it. And that was the time of my life doing that stand-up. And then I got called over to the couch afterwards with Johnny, which is a real rare treat. And he got more laughs. And then, what's her name? And then I showed this picture earlier. I don't know if you were here or not, but Johnny would come over and he would laugh so hard, and he had cigarette smoke in his lungs from the break, and I could smell it and almost see it too. And that was him.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that was
that's
biggest, I think, to this day, even more so than SNL or Weeds.
I know how much that means to you because, I mean, not to sound fancy, but you and I have his and her closet. So you have your own closet and I have mine. And when I go in your closet, I like to see what pictures you put up next to your sweatpants and Crocs. And it's the Johnny Carson picture is right there where you love that Johnny Carson picture of you at the desk. But let me circle back.
Also, I have one in the bathroom.
Moment? Because
I have one in the bathroom too, and I have one in my car.
You're going to get a tattoo someday.
That's right.
But what's that moment like? So many people come out and do stand up on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and then they disappear and go ride in the car home and stop at Applebee's or whatever. But you were there, you leave the stage from doing the set. What happens how do you know that you were invited to the couch? How does that all unfold?
Well, I wasn't invited. I just thought I'd take the initiative to go over there. Nobody ever does that, but I thought I'll do that. No, what happened is sometimes the comic will finish their set and Johnny will go, come on over. This one, I finished my set. I went behind the curtain, and Jim McCauley, the talent coordinator who got me on the show, was really happy. He said, that's great. And hang out, because I think Johnny's going to want to talk to you out on the bench. And I'm like, double what? And I went out there and I got more laughs. In fact, the cool thing is that show's been off for a long time. There's the there's the National Comedy Center, I think it's called, in Jamestown, New York, and it's the greatest museum of comedy ever. And one of the areas is for Johnny Carson, the Johnny Carson show, and they have that exact curtain that I went through up there. It's the rainbow-colored curtain. And also, what I didn't know was they have Johnny Carson's Filofax there, where they, back in those days, you didn't have a cell phone, so you wrote it down on paper and you could flip it. He would have notes about every comic that came on the show. I didn't know that. And I almost don't want to look at mine. I almost don't want to know, Right?
I'd love to see it. That would be incredible to have. But didn't you say once you had an audition and the casting director showed you the notes that they wrote and it just said, Kevin Nealon, tall.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was
That's
tall.
what they said after your audition. They were not incorrect. Okay. Oh, here's a personal one. This is from Linda in Florida. Hi, Linda in Florida. How did you and Susan meet?
Well, I was going to do, I was going to be a guest comic on my friend's pilot at Sony Studios. Mm-hmm. And I was there a little bit late because I had another show I was hosting. And I got to the makeup department and Susan was sitting in the chair because she was hired to be the comedic fashion correspondent. And on the way over there, I was actually thinking, I wonder if I'm ever going to have a kid because I was getting older. And I wasn't married. And I walk in there and I see her and I say hi to her and I go to sit down in my chair so the makeup artist can get me ready. And loud enough for Susan to hear, I said, you hear about single women and actresses adopting a kid. Can a single guy adopt a baby? And she kind of turned on that one. I don't know what you thought then, Suze.
I thought that's either the worst pickup line I've ever heard or the best, because in one swoop, I knew you were available, you wanted a family, you were open to adoption. It was just a grand slam.
It was all right there in that one little sentence.
You were so kind. I just remember thinking, this is such a heart-centered guy. He's so nice. And they wrapped you at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, you were done. And they said, Kevin, sign out. And I didn't go on till 11:30 at night, my segment. And I thought, this guy is still here. You were waiting in the wings, even though you were finished. It's like, why is he not leaving? And then I came on and did my segment. I was wrapped at 11:40. And this is back in the day, studios would give you these ginormous gift baskets filled with coffee and butterscotch candy and poopery and all that. And you said, can I take your gift basket to your car? And suddenly you were leaving the same time I was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was how we met.
Interesting. That was how we met. Okay. Tom in California says, Kevin, what is your favorite memory from SNL?
Well, I think it was a sketch I wrote called The Bathroom Attendant. And it was Harvey Keitel was the host. And I wrote this sketch where I was the bathroom attendant in a very tiny bathroom, just one toilet, no stall. And I wore a tuxedo, like a good bathroom attendant should. And Harvey Keitel comes in from the restaurant, and he's not a regular there, so he doesn't recognize me. He thinks I'm using the bathroom, and he apologizes. I said, no, I'm the bathroom attendant here. So anyway, he comes in, he's very uncomfortable, and he sits down. I'm saying, you go number one, or are you going to drop anchor? And he said, I'm dropping anchor. And I would help him do everything. I'd try to help him pull his pants down, and I'd hand him newspapers and colognes, and then I have the tip basket afterwards as I'm brushing him off, and then at the end he leaves, and then Chris Farley comes in. He's a regular. He goes, "Hey Tom, how's it going?" I say, "Hey, good to see you again, Bill." And so I think that was like one of my favorite sketches and memories on that show.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a great sketch. And every time I go in and see a bathroom attendant, I think of that. Just a reminder, signed copy are available right now at premiercollectibles.com/Nealon. And Kev, we're going to rapid fire go through the rest of these questions.
Okay.
So Lisa, hi Lisa from Nashville. That's my hometown. I love Nashville. I'll be there next week. She wants to know, this is what she says. I'd love to know what painting does for you as a creative outlet, expression, stress reliever, etc. Also, hi to Susan and Gable. Hi, Lisa. Very sweet. So what does painting do for you? And then we're just going to the rest of these.
It's very relaxing for me. It really, it provides an escape for me. I used to have claustrophobia when I lived in New York, and you can't get out of New York City, I think 70% of the time, unless you go through a tunnel. It's a long tunnel, either the Lincoln Tunnel or the Midtown Tunnel. And I would start getting anxious and anxiety ridden going through there. And also sitting on planes on the runway, if they weren't taking off, I start to get claustrophobic. So I found that if I take out a sketch pad and a pencil or a barf bag, preferably empty, and start sketching, it would really calm me. And I would just escape from the rest of the world. I would forget to eat meals. I would forget everything that was bothering me. So that's what it provides for me. And also I like the movement of the pen.
Mm-hmm. Well, art as an Ativan, right? Okay. Yeah. Once again, we're going back to this. I love it. Love the recent Conan podcast appearance. Everybody, I have to say, check that one out. It came out 2 days ago or 1 day ago. It is insane, off the rails, bananas, and I love it. So thank you, Charlie from Newport, Rhode Island. He's asking, what was your favorite New England hiking spot?
I didn't hike much in New England. I mean, I used to, growing up, I lived in Connecticut, and I wouldn't hike as much. I used to camp out in the woods nearby. So, but I guess hiking to our campsite would be the one that was in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Let's see, where else? I used to ski a lot in Connecticut and Vermont and Massachusetts, but I wasn't into hiking as much as I am now.
You love it.
I do.
That's your favorite thing. Now that you need.
It's a show called Hiking with Kevin.
Okay,
I do a show. Sorry, we have a little delay here, Suze. I do a hiking show. It's called Hiking with Kevin. It's on YouTube. It's premiering tonight, actually, in about 45 minutes ago. And it comes on once a week. I hike with a different celebrity in the canyons of mostly Malibu and LA. Although I did do Ireland a couple months ago with Paul Reiser, and also I'm doing Nashville next week. And I've done New York, and I've even hiked with Susan in the Smoky Mountains. But yeah, the first hike today is with Paul Rudd, if you like Paul Rudd.
Oh, who doesn't love Paul Rudd?
Sexiest man alive. I can't hear her. I can't hear her. I can't hear you, Suze. I can't hear you. Let me do it again. I'm going to read your lips. Come closer. I'm trying to read your lips. Hello? Is there a tech guy or something? They're going to send in the cavalry in a minute, but you didn't hit the mute button, did you, by any chance? No, she did not. Can you hear me, Suze? Why don't you type the questions to me? But mouth the words as you're typing. Maybe log out and come back on again, and I will talk to our friends here while you're gone. Anyway, this is I've signed about 1,000 of these so far, and my signature is getting worse and worse because I got to take it slow. One time I was with Arnold Palmer, the king of golf. And he would sign his merchandise, and he took about a minute to sign each one because each signature looked the same, it looked like a stamp on it. So that's pretty crazy. And I was sitting with him. We did a commercial together. That's why I was hanging out with him. But I was with him in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And that's where he learned how to play golf and where his father was a groundskeeper. And I ate lunch with him in his restaurant, in his clubhouse. And I sat at his table, his special table, next to him when he ordered an Arnold Palmer drink. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, Arnold Palmer just ordered an Arnold Palmer drink. What? And then the server asked me what I wanted, and I said, I'll have a Kevin Nealon. And Arnold looked at me and goes, what's a Kevin Nealon? I said, well, it's exactly like an Arnold Palmer, but a little taller and better looking. Take that, Arnold. Touche. I enjoyed working with him. I'm not a big golfer, but I did draw a picture of Arnold Palmer in here, and I think I might include that story with it. But I golf in a tournament in Lake Tahoe every year. It's on television, and I'm not a good golfer. I'm horrible. I'm probably a little better than Charles Barkley. But this is the picture I did of Arnold Palmer. Right there. Our heads are almost the same size. Let's see, I think you guys could type in and ask me something too here, I think. I'm looking at some questions over here. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, I have a lot of interesting stories in the book. I have some fun pictures. I don't know if you have the book now, but maybe you don't. Maybe you just read it now like this. How's that? I have Buzz Aldrin in here. I have a really funny story about Buzz Aldrin. So I'm in Mexico, and I'm walking on the beach, and there's Buzz Aldrin with his wife. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't sure that was him. And I go up to him. I say, hey, Buzz, it's an honor to meet you. I mean, the moon thing, huh? What about the moon thing? And I said, were you ever nervous that you wouldn't get off the moon? And he looked at me and goes, what are you, a wise guy? I don't know what he was talking about. I thought, well, how's that being a wise guy? I said, I would be nervous if I was on the moon, that maybe I wouldn't get off. And he's a rocket scientist, so everything's supposed to work the way it should. He said, why wouldn't we get off the moon? I said, well, maybe the lunar module wouldn't start. I said, maybe you ever think about that? Maybe it just wouldn't start, because I know my car doesn't start sometimes. It's supposed to start, but it doesn't. He goes, well, we did get back in the lunar module, and we noticed that a fuse was sticking out a little bit. So we called Houston. They said, just push it back in, and that'll be fine. And then it worked. Took off. I wish my car had a fuse. I'd push it back in and get out of there. Somebody caught my show at the Brea Improv. That's Mike. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to put my glasses on. My glasses. Mike Lefebvre. Lefebvre. Something like that. Caught your show at the Brea Improv in 2006. Never laughed so hard. Saw Carlin same night. You were funnier. Still love that taint scene in Weeds. That's the night Carlin opened for me. I remember that. Yeah, it's a show. You said you misspelled show and said shoe. So many of my friends do that. Even I do it sometimes. Hey, Kevin, how's it going? Loved you in Grandma's Boy. Grandma's Boy was a fun movie to do. I didn't want to do it at first because it was just so crazy. And then Sandler called me and goes, Neil, I really hope you do this show, because if you don't do it and it's a big hit, I'll feel bad. But if it's not a big hit, no one's going to see it anyway. It's my Sandler impression. I don't know how we're doing on time here, but I'm going to have to wrap it up. So let's do maybe one or two more questions. Yeah, good question. I started, I came from Connecticut. I went to LA, and that's where I started doing stand-up comedy. And yeah, I do love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope you get a chance to get my book, I Exaggerate, My Brushes with Fame. I love doing it. I love doing the drawings. I love doing the stories, and it really is a labor of love. And yeah, you can just go to that site. Let me just bring it up again. It's called premiercollectibles.com/Nealon. That's premiercollectibles.com/Nealon. I think maybe you could see it right there. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but that's what I'm seeing. But yeah, so thanks for joining me. And I hope you can come to one of my stand-up shows sometime. And don't forget to watch my hiking show, Hiking with Kevin, on YouTube every Thursday, premiering at 1 o'clock Pacific Coast time. And my book is available wherever books are sold and also at premiercollectibles.com/Nealon. And I will autograph it for you. I've done a lot of live autographs here, and we have these little platelets that we'll put in there. And you will have something very special. And also, by the way, can't think of a gift to get somebody for this holidays, for the holiday season? Rome, bingo. They'll open it up. They go, oh my God, it's the book I heard about. Anyway, thanks you guys. And we'll do this again sometime. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is John Acuff, New York Times best-selling author of 7 books and someone who's done a live signing. If you like the one you just watched, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's full of amazing authors having great conversations and signing books for viewers just like you. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching today.